Hello and welcome to Voices of Westerly, a new podcast from the United Theater featuring conversations, many of which are recorded in front of a live audience, with the creative and professional individuals who make Westerly, Rhode Island such a unique and inspired community of leaders, innovators, and artists. I'm your host, Tony Nunes, Artistic Director of the United Theater, here in the beautiful downtown arts district of Westerly, Rhode Island. The Voices of Westerly series is inspired by Westerly photographer and artist Josh Behan, who created a Faces of Westerly portrait series, which we premiered here a couple of years ago at the United and is now on permanent display and rotation in our halls. Voices of Westerly live discussions will take place monthly in our post-credit scene event space here at the United. Welcome to Voices of Westerly, our monthly live podcast from the United, featuring conversations with the creative and professional individuals who make Westerly and the surrounding region such a unique, inspired community of leaders, innovators, and artists. I'm your host, Tony Nunes, Artistic Director of the United, and our guests today for this very cocktail-centric edition of Voices, are Stephen Corrigan and Dale DeGroff. Our first guest of the evening is General Manager of the Café next door here to the United in downtown Westerly. He's a renowned beverage consultant and drinks industry specialist. Please welcome Steve Corrigan.
Great to be here, Tony.
Thank you. So, Steve, I start every episode of Voices of Westerly with the same questions. A lot of these questions are very Westerly-centric. So I'm going to begin with your Westerly origin story. And I know the answer to some of these questions, but our listeners do not. So what is your Westerly origin story?
So my Westerly genesis is, I arrived in Westerly. So there was this little thing called COVID. I was raising my family down on the Hudson River in New York, and having opened up a couple of restaurants and working in a couple of bars for some pretty renowned restaurateurs in that area. COVID came and closed us down. So that was whatever that was. I can't remember now. It's so long ago.
Yeah.
And things did what they did. We all experienced it. And coming out of that, I got a phone call from a very, very dear old friend of mine, Mr. Dan King, with whom I ran restaurants in the San Francisco Bay Area about 30 plus years ago. And he said, hey, do you want to come up to this little town called Westerly? And we've got a pretty good thing going here. We've got a theater and a blues club, and we're going to be opening this restaurant. I could really use a hand. And I drove up, and I met with Dan, and he walked me around, gave me the big tour, if you will, and said, this is our vision, and this little town is really on the verge of something new and something great, and would you like to be a part of it? And how could I say no? As we were joking before the show, Tony, I think you were the second person I ever met in Westerly, and you had a certain intensity and a brightness in your eyes to the mission that was being undertaken, and the rest is history. So that was sort of summer of 21, I guess.
Yeah.
Middle of the Omicron variant.
Yeah. Yes.
Lots of fun.
On the COVID calendar.
On the COVID calendar. And so we thought, let's open up a live performance space, a cinema, and a restaurant in a pandemic, because that would be easy, right?
But here we are sitting in that very complex while you have a restaurant full of people next door, and we have 3 movie theaters full of people right now. So we did it.
Yeah, here's to us.
Yay. So I'll ask more Westerly questions at the end of this, but I want to talk about you and some of your history outside of Westerly. Especially, when I came to know you, when you did come over here, I was always struck by your kind of, I don't know if mixology is a cool word anymore, but it's probably not. But
I'll let Dale answer that.
Your bar service and kind of your vision for creating a vibe, but creating a vibe through the drinks and everything, and keeping it fresh and keeping it real. And I was always struck by that. I thought And I still think that the Café has the most impressive cocktail service in Westerly.
Well, thank you.
And I'm wondering where you learned that and what your history and background there is.
Well, we, my history and background. So this is a revisit of my very first career. My first career out of college was the restaurant business, and I fell in love with it. And I realized that this wasn't just a summer job. This wasn't just, a throwaway. It was a craft. It was something meaningful, and I learned that in this environment in San Francisco, which is again where I met Dan, and the two of us we shared. There was a mentor who kind of taught us and brought us into this thing called hospitality, and so the word I would maybe push mixology aside for is hospitality, and really what our vision was, Dan's and my vision was to create a place where that door was open to everyone and everyone felt welcomed, while also providing an elevated environment, an elevated service, something that people would. It was the word we threw around those many years ago was aspirational. Like, what we're trying to do here is aspirational. It's not just another bar. It's not just another restaurant serving, whatever. With all respect to those, because this is a tough business, and I spend a lot of my time outside of the cafe in great places. But what we were always trying to do was create something exceptional, whether that was the bar program, whether that was the beverages or the artwork, which again, of course, Mr. and Mrs. Royce, it's such a great privilege to walk in there and be surrounded by that every day. Or everything, the host desk or the service or the kitchen or the basics. How do we create things like a hamburger or French fries and just have them be perfect, not necessarily with a lot of different silly ingredients, but something that is just people walk in and they know that there's been care given to the cocktail in front of them or the wines on the wine list. And so that's really what we aspired to create. And as you said earlier, 4 years later, here we are. So we might have gotten something right. We work at it every day, and it's what keeps me going.
What previous jobs did you have, kind of in the
industry?
On the bev side of F&B?
Of FM, so yeah, okay. So it was 10 years in the restaurant business, kind of cutting my teeth back a long time ago, and then I had an opportunity that was. I'm still a big believer in the importance of a bar in our society. I think it's as important, or perhaps more now than ever before. It's where things happen. It's where so many incredible moments and opportunities in my life have come. And this bar is no exception at all. It's a magical place. And I was working in a place in Mill Valley, California called the Buckeye Roadhouse with Dan. I was behind the bar at a regular customer. It's a funny story. His name was Jim Murray, and he would sit at the bar 5 days a week. And he would have 3 or 4 Absolute and cranberries, because we were drinking Absolute and cranberry back then. And he would have a beautiful lunch, and he would pay with a corporate credit card. Lovely guy, great tan. Apparently he was an amazing golfer. And there was one service I remember, I was running around like a headless chicken, and he stopped me. He said, "Steve," he goes, "you're really good at this." He goes, "If you ever want to get out of this business, and talk to me." And I ended up talking to him. He worked for a company called Seagram's, and he said, "Why don't you type up a resume?" He typed up a resume, didn't think anything of it. He took it. Came back the next week, said I gave it to another friend of mine in a much smaller company, a French company. You might be getting a call. Again, I thought nothing of it. Got the phone call and got the job. And so long way to get to answer your question. That then took me out of the restaurant business and into the international wine and spirits business. And the company that I got a job with was a company called Pernod Ricard, which is now the second largest multinational wine and spirits company in the world. And I had about a 15-year run with them. Moved on to a Scottish company called William Grant & Sons, and then a few others after that. But the food and beverage, the bar side, never left my bloodstream. I traveled the world with these companies. I worked with the most amazing people, the most amazing brands, doing really, really wonderful, fun things. And then I had enough, and I got back into this. I couldn't be happier.
So what is kind of the methodology or principles that you bring to your bar service, your bar menu?
Balance. Everything in balance is what I tell every single bartender that ever or person who wants to step behind that bar, and that goes for the cocktail that's in front of that you're putting out. It has to have the right balance in terms of sweet, bitter, strong. The service. So while it would be lovely to have a 5-seat cocktail bar with 25 different ingredients and you order a cocktail and you get to watch the guy for 15 minutes crafting it. That's not what we're doing here. We're a craft cocktail bar that services a restaurant, and so there has to be balance. We have to have that level of excellence in our program, while also being able to deliver the hospitality to the dining guests and to the bar guests.
How is it managing a restaurant? Well, do you watch The Bear? I mean, the restaurant industry is notorious for being full of a certain type of individual. It's late hours. It's service and grinding. But most people who work in that world find themselves kind of drawn to that world. Are you like a moth to that flame?
I mean, I'm the oldest moth, I think, flying around that flame at the moment. But without doubt, Tony, I mean, it just doesn't. I don't think anyone who's serious in this business, or even purports to be serious in this business, doesn't have that little adrenaline junkie, kind of slightly edgy soul. But again, I'm a little bit, I'm not a young gun anymore, and yet on any given night, tonight may be another example next door, where the adrenaline levels just go so high, and then you get through it. One of the nice things about this business, what I was drawn back to, was I used to use the analogy of the apron. I was loved putting on an apron and going to work, knowing that at the end of the shift I'd pull that apron off and I could hang it up and go and be with whomever I was, with my loved ones, whomever, and decompress, and then get back after it the next day. And invariably you don't get it right, or I speak for myself, I don't get it right. Invariably, every shift I get something wrong, and I think about it and I try to go back and make the tweaks necessary to get it right the next time.
And you're a bit of a teaching institution. I mean, I've watched you teaching, especially in those early days, teaching about making drinks, about service. But now you guys do events where you're kind of bringing in the public and teaching them a little history and a little about making cocktails themselves. What do you have coming up as far as those events, or what do you have planned for later this year?
We have, in fact, I just, day before yesterday, I got confirmation. So we started almost a year ago, I guess now, maybe not quite, cocktail hour at the Café with Dale DeGroff, which the genesis of which was essentially I was standing in the service while Dale DeGroff was having a drink, and the two of us thought, let's have some fun. At the time, we were closed on Mondays and Tuesdays at the Café. Thought let's just do something on Tuesdays, and thus was born this sort of very organic thing, which is growing and growing, and we're flying in incredible talent from other parts of the country, and then of course, we have this environment. I've got this beautiful bar team. to be able to work with Dale is an incredible privilege. I mean, privilege is really a core word I'm finding in my Westerly experience. I mean, I walk into that restaurant every day, and I think, as bad as my day is going, that's my office. I get to walk in, and there's all of these original pieces of artwork and this incredible, this beautiful team that comes in and works every day, and then to have collaborations and friendships with people like Dale. What did I do in a past life to get this lucky, kind of thing, so.
All right, I'm going to bring it back to some Westerly questions.
Okay.
I always ask people this question: what are your 3 favorite places in Westerly?
3 favorite places in Westerly.
Yep.
Do they have to be bars? Can they be bars?
They can be whatever you want them to be.
Okay. 3 favorite places in Westerly. I'll go. Okay, I'll give you 3 places, and then I'll go with an alternate, and
Okay.
It's cheesy. So if you want to throw me off the stage,
No,
you're very welcome.
please. We've had some cheesy answers.
I mean, as much as there are days when I kick and complain. Man, I love my bar. I love it. I really do. It's the place when I got nothing else going on, or when friends come to visit. What are we going to do? If I'm really conscious, I think, options 1 through 5 minimum are my own place. And so that's one. If we're going to stick with the theme, I love the tap room at the Nick. I think that's one of the coolest little bars in town, and every time I go there, there's a good vibe, and it feels like I'm in some little, corner bar on Frenchman Street in New Orleans or something. It's just a great spot. So I'd put that up there. Number 3, wherever my wife is. Sorry. Number 3, I don't know, somewhere probably down in kind of Watch Hill, somewhere at a sunset in that gazebo on that little piece of green.
Yep.
It's a pretty special place.
It is. It's pretty.
Yeah.
All right. It's not too cheesy.
It's a little cheesy.
Most people say
shout
Wilcox.
out to Joanne.
Most people say Wilcox Park, and I thought you were going to go there because that's like a very common answer.
Wilcox Park is one of the most exceptional. I mean, that was one of the things that really, one of the hooks that landed in me when I was thinking about coming here. It was, goodness.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Really something.
All right, so this last question is a doozy, and I end every interview with this one. So I'll give you a second to think about it, because it is a heavier question. It's kind of a 3-part question that I close these conversations out with, kind of setting the path for future voices and conversations like this. Mm-hmm. Like any community, Westerly is an ever-evolving community of new businesses, creatives, and voices. What's next for you? What would you like to see happen in this community over the next few years, and how do you hope to be a part of that?
That's a big one.
It's a big one.
I believe very strongly in hospitality. I think that one of the turns of phrase that I use with my staff, especially when we're getting praised, when guests walk out after a meal and they come and find me and they say, "Oh, this server was," and I would say, it's mutual. It's whatever you're putting out there, chances are you'll get back. Occasionally you don't, but more often than not, and that is sort of at that kind of mutuality, I guess, is sort of for me is the core of what really hospitality means. And I think that this town, looking back at the last 4 years, looking backwards to look forwards, I think that is a seed that's been planted, that is now starting to show. It's starting to break through the earth, and I think that for the downtown Westerly, if we can really focus on whether it's food and beverage, whether it's the bookstore, the retail, whether it's what's going on at Wilcox Park, that idea of bringing people from outside or from within Westerly to us, to our businesses, to our parks and places, and having them go back home feeling better than they did when they arrived. That's the future. That's what's going to be the point of difference for this little town. And I'm the new kid in town. I'm only 4 years old, but I had a conversation as recently with last night with a guy who's generational Westerly, and he said, "Man, you know what's going on downtown? It wasn't always like that." He's like, "It wasn't always like that. It was like you didn't even go downtown, and now we do. And I bring my wife downtown." Man, if that's not music to my ears, I don't know. And what you guys are doing over here, I mean, it's exceptional. It's aspirational and exceptional, and it's at the baseline is the care for people. Have people arrive feeling they could have had the best day they've had. They could have had a terrible day. As long as they leave feeling better than they did when they arrived, that's the future. That should be that should be an objective beyond Westerly as well.
Good answer. I agree with you 100% there.
Thank you.
All right, Steve. Well, thank you for joining us on Voices of Westerly.
Thank you so much. What a pleasure.
All right, thanks.
Thanks for tuning in to the United Theater Podcast Network. If you enjoyed this episode, we encourage you to subscribe to our show so you never miss an episode. And if you could take a moment to leave a review, we'd greatly appreciate it. Your feedback helps us create content that you love. So hit that subscribe button and leave us a review, and we'll see you on the next episode.